All for One and Ryomen Sukuna. Two anime big bads that got the shaft heavy at the end of the story. Both also have existed for a period of time. They have legends about them in their respective worlds as the greatest villain in history, with a long line of powerful, unique abilities that put them above most of the verse, only finally losing within the hands of a vessel. Somewhat. These two characters leave us with one question: who would kick whose ass in a fight? But before we get into this, forever hold, there's a goal. If we reach 666 likes, then for the next video I will cover Bill Cipher versus the Doom Slayer, and see if the Dream Demon is, well, doomed. Okay, let's get into this. When we were first introduced to the Demon Lord of My Hero Academia, he was actually intimidating, a threat that seemed invincible even to the strongest hero, and almost like All Might was going to die. Which is crazy because an average All Might punch at this level was able to change the weather, calculated at 2.41 gigatons of TNT. All Might does also upscale some characters who pull off incredible feats later in the series, like scaling above Endeavor and Stars and Stripes, who can tank Shigaraki's air cannons and react to radio waves and lasers. As well as upscaling Stars and Stripes' cruise attack gives modern All Might scaling from country to multi-continental, which is again backed up with the air cannon attacks. This upscales modern All Might before losing his embers, which All for One scales to, with All for One being able to tank serious attacks from modern All Might, but also able to deal stronger attacks back, being able to power stack himself to amplify his stats but also boost his overall attack power and speed, which he does with his many quirks. For speed, All for One hasn't really shown much in terms of travel speed, but he does fight against fast characters. He can easily react to and combat characters who can dodge and sometimes blitz his lasers, but has radio wave attacks that move at the speed of light. It's backed up when Stars and Stripes catches lasers and has no real trouble moving by them. Endeavor is shown reacting to these attacks, and even Armored All Might, who is weaker than modern All Might, has shown calcs to 1.68 times faster than light from similar showings, which All for One once again upscales from. There's some additional amps to argue with much faster speeds, like upscaling Oyama's laser and reacting to that. Calc stacking has gotten speeds to near MFTL speeds, but I'm less leaning towards that, scaling less and less every day. Besides, the upscaling from the feats naturally get better for All for One's prime state. He could beat Prime All Might in history, who is 60 times stronger than his modern state and is likely much faster. Even when he isn't taking Armored All Might seriously and not really having a problem with him, when he gets back into his prime using the rewind drug. He also gains access to a lot of more abilities, including some mind and minor soul hacks as shown from Shigaraki using his abilities. And I wonder if that'll come into play. But for his many abilities, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna bother saying all of them. He has gained so many quirks over the century of being history's greatest villain, and covering all of them would be difficult. I'll bring up the important ones in the conclusion though, so get ready for that. Yuichi Itadori was a kid that was getting beat up by a cursed spirit, so he ate a random old dude's finger and boom, he one-shot the creature, but as the historical king of curses, Ryomen Sukuna.
Feast your eyes on my demonic
Sukuna was a massive threat in history, where he could casually kill Jujutsu sorcerers and scare special grade curses with his aura alone. One of these guys sent down a meteor to crush a city, and it only might have hurt Sukuna, who wasn't even at his full power. For his extra strength level, a 15-finger Sukuna in Yuji's body was able to clear the sky against Mahoraga, which has a calc range of 168 to 179 teratons of TNT, which is casually reaching into those large country levels of power. Against Gojo and Amp's 19-finger Sukuna in Megumi's body, who was believed to be about as powerful as his 20-finger status, was able to kill Gojo and was at his strongest. And yet, at 15 fingers in Megumi's body, his power dropped around 10% than his normal power. If you want to give a high end to a complete 20-finger Sukuna, he would be about 10 times stronger than his 15-finger counterpart, so he would just be way more powerful than before, which would include speed, which, comparing to Satoru Gojo, they both can dodge and react to Kashimo's electromagnetic waves, with a feat calculated to 6.5 times faster than light. In terms of the power scaling community, Sukuna is probably less known for his power and more for his techniques. Like his cleave and dismantle allow range slashing attacks and stat equalizing cuts respectively, that he can use in different ways, even using an enchanted dismantle to become the world cutting slash, which can bypass and nullify space abilities. It likely could also bypass durability with this. With Fuga or Furnace, Sukuna can burn someone to their very core, and it's even considered a one-shot technique by even comparing to Cleave or Dismantle. There's also Domain Amplification and Power Nullification, as well as the Reverse Curse technique which Sukuna can use to heal and regenerate limbs. He can also force Binding Vows onto weaker characters for some bogus fucking bullshit in all honest opinion.
Panda! Hurry up and run!
No, you won't. I hereby forbid every person in a 100-meter radius from moving until I say the word now. Now!
He's an asshole.
But there is one technique that Sukuna, the King of Curses, is infamous of.
Domain expansion. Malevolent Shrine.
Domain expansions are techniques that traps both the user and the target into a pocket dimension where it forces an attack a guaranteed hit onto the opponent, which Sukuna uses to slash everything to the point where even blood isn't even left. Down to the microscopic level, everything is slashed and diced up. But here's the thing, Sukuna's domain isn't actually a normal domain expansion. It's rather an open domain, which is basically ignoring the pocket dimension and just summons the domain to a 200-meter radius to where it could affect anyone in the area. It can be countered, however, in some sense, because by other domain expansions, but that won't be a problem in this fight. Hey, future Okara here. I forgot to mention Mahoraga, so I guess I'll add some points here. In Megami's body, Sukuna can summon Mahoraga and grant it resistances that Sukuna experiences, as Mahoraga's whole thing is to adapt to anything and be basically unkillable by those things. But he can still be beaten by techniques and attacks that it has never fought against, and with All For One's ludicrous amount of hacks, even if Sukuna adapted to a few of them first, he might unironically set 5 quirks to one-shot Mahoraga as he first appears. So really, even with another body on field, Mahoraga might not change things. So who would win in a fight? Two big bad villains with a long history come against one another, and the stats are kinda interesting. All For One is much stronger and the gap is greater than Sukuna's speed advantage. However, it's their abilities that are the main factor here. For one thing, both have regeneration in the forms of the Reverse Curse technique and Super Regeneration, to where damage might not matter, and Sukuna has multiple forms of durability negation, so the strength gap might not even matter. Both can die in certain ways, but there are some issues. For one thing, All For One does have the potential to attack souls, which could be used to attack Sukuna and remove him from Megami's body, which is an almost instant KO. All For One can just die from enough physical damage though, and Sukuna has had a millennia compared to All For One's century of experience, so Sukuna might actually win here. Well, not quite. For one thing, All For One has actually fought for that century while Sukuna was just spacing out to wait for his eventual return. It's like living for 1,000 years in a coma compared to actually killing people for a century. All For One is only killed by rewinding past a baby, which is something pre-drug taken All For One wouldn't have, because, you know, he didn't take the drug. And finally, the massive gap in abilities makes it much more difficult for Sukuna to really combat here. Even if we limit it to being only the quirks that are named in the series, All For One has over 20 different abilities, including the powers that already make this fight a stalemate. But with no way to really get through All For One, even with nullifying durability due to Super Regeneration, he doesn't even have 3% of All For One's physical strength. But I will admit, it is much closer than using Prime All For One. While he does have the weakness of rewinding past a baby, it took a lot of effort to make it happen. Sukuna probably wouldn't even be able to make it to this state. In this form, All For One is 60 times stronger and much faster, and he would be faster than Sukuna. He also does technically have access to Shigaraki as his vessel to puppet around, which would also grant him straight up soul deletion and even higher stats, but at this point it's just becoming way too unfair. So in conclusion, All For One has the skill, versatility, and strength advantage, while Sukuna can maybe just get by with speed, and the fight would be worse for Sukuna if All For One takes the rewind drug. So one for all, I'd say All For One would win about mid difficulty.